All
So
right, how you doing, Larry Turner? It's so great to have you on today.
I'm
I'm
doing
wondering
well.
if I should just call it the Sol podcast or the Shifter Drift podcast. Uh, we'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah, to be determined. But what I was mentioning, trait 8 of the laundry list workbook, we become addicted to excitement and we inhibit our fear by staying deadened and numb. And I was describing it like being on the intact team. I mean, I did a lot of crazy crap in my career, a lot of crazy stuff. But being on the dynamic entry team, they we did 3 to 5 dynamic entries every single day. Like it was blow up one house, go to the next. As I'm in the first house that we blew up, on their wall we post a map of the next house we're going to, and it's just all night, bam, 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 and so addicted to adrenaline. Adrenaline is just a constant. It became my normal, and I'm always ready for a fight. And so to answer the question, what type of situation, oh, here it is, name a type of situation that is still very attractive to you, conflict, and is it usually difficult for you not to involve yourself in it? It was at first when I first came out of Save Warrior because I'm new and
Yeah.
I'm always right now ready to fight to the death right now. And I'm amped up in that mental state. Um, and I was explaining if there's not a conflict, I'll create one. Just because that's my normal state of internal drugstore. I need that. And but then one of the curious questions: did it take you a long time to recover um, after after a conflict? No, because that is my normal state of being. And I described it once to somebody that I there was so much adrenaline coursing through my veins at all times that if I took your spirit, well, maybe not you, but just a civilian, stuck their spirit into my meat puppet, you might start screaming, just terrified. But I got
Why
used
not
to it.
me? Is my spirit special or something?
I don't know. Maybe you've seen combat and stuff like that. Um, but somebody, the internal drugstore and all this stuff, not just adrenaline. Um, shame. Shame's addictive, very addictive. Low sense of self-esteem. That's my normal. Um, Isolated, afraid of authority figures. I rebelled against the authority figures. I was not an easy person to supervise.
Through that one you were
Approval.
talking about at first with conflict, for me, I could see I would just sub out one word, and like conflict, I would just sub it out for drama. Because I would avoid conflict a lot. I would burn down relationships if,
Yeah.
there was too much conflict. But I've found, after going through Saw and meeting more people, especially getting into this marriage with Cassie, and going and visiting her family, I find it kind of boring when there's not a lot of drama going on. And her family, they're just like really nice people. You're playing a board game and it's not like you're at each other's throats and like a couple of people playing the game might not be talking to each other for the next few weeks. It's more like, oh, well, I'll do this so that it's nice for everyone, you know? And it's much different. And I go and I'm around my family and I love them to death. There's so many nieces and nephews around now. There's always at some point some kid crying, some kid getting pissed off, uh, getting a little too aggressive playing basketball with my brother and, family members. And that stuff still excites me, and that's just like I'm used to that level of like there's a decent amount of drama and just some level of chaos going on all the time. And you know, it's probably why we all chase these peak experiences after we get out of the military or out of the service with police or fire. We need to get ramped up because, we're used to that level all the time. And I would do that with a lot of things by really just creating drama in my own life.
See, drama doesn't land. Yeah, drama. No, for me, it's conflict. For me, it is. Mind you, because I'm also numbing my life experience by staying at work constantly, uh, 12 to, and just go, 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 go. Well, then I got to come home and I got to be dad. So I'm supposed to just flip that switch off, and I didn't. I did not. I mean, in my free time, when I wasn't at work, I'm still at work. I'm still looking for bad guys. I'm still uh, my dog and I, we would drive around looking for drug deals going down and involve ourselves, run them off or whatever. It was pretty bad.
If I
uh,
were out dealing drugs and I saw Jimmy coming for me, he's a terrifying looking dog. I know he's a teddy bear too, but
yeah,
he's a terrifying looking dog, and I know he's trained well also.
he's never bitten anybody, but it's weird. He puts on an act, and his demeanor towards you is completely based upon my demeanor towards you.
Yeah.
So if you're challenging me and Jimmy's right there, he's going to be like the hair rises up on his back. He's going to start sneering, and he's listening. It's like he's paying attention to everything that's going on, and he's reading my vibe off you. And if I like you, Jimmy likes you. If there's a
Yeah.
fight, uh, Jimmy's going to. I don't know. I predict he might have gotten involved in it, but I've also trained him not to put teeth on human skin. I don't want everybody to know that. Maybe edit that part out. I don't want them to know he's never going to bite you because I've trained him not to. But uh, I don't know. He's all peace and love now. It took a while after coming out of Save a Warrior, a long while. It took years. I was already on the rostering. I was rostering, and I'm still struggling. I was still struggling. I reckon if you check in with me in 2 years from now, I'm going to look back at this podcast and say, oh, that guy was batshit crazy. He was still struggling because I'm constantly in recovery and my trajectory is I'm going up. And initially coming out of Save a Warrior, I mean, that was such a shock. The spiritual awakening that I had on the ropes course. There's not even vocabulary to describe that. The like all of a sudden I'm aware of my spirit. Oh, those are my feelings and emotions. Oh, that's attached to my spirit and they're valid. All of those are valid. See, I've been taught to ignore all those things all my life, especially love, joy, peace, all the good ones. I kind of trained myself to ignore all those I didn't trust them. And so I always ignored all of those. The only emotions I paid attention to were, are you pissing me off or not? And if you're pissing me off, well, I'm going to come deal with it or whatever. There's going to be the conflict that I always was addicted to.
Yeah. What was that index event? I know you said the ropes course, and is that when you were able to step back, from just the perspective of looking for conflict all the time and looking for that next peak experience? But what was that moment? Because transformation always happens in a moment,
Oh,
So what was that exact moment where you were able to like step back and see that and see how you'd been suppressing those emotions and kind of let go of all of that?
well, uh, I was paying attention to every single word that everybody spoke the moment I came in to Save a Warrior. I'm just out here. I'm out here looking at it, and I am not examining my past at all. No, 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 no. my manager, if you want to call it that. No, 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 no. You are not looking internally.
Yeah, I remember you said you were trying to catch us slipping because I think it was Adam or somebody who said at the beginning, like, stop us as soon as you hear us say something that isn't true. And that's
You're
why
right.
you
He
said,
said,
like, out of almost spite or something, you're like, all right, I'll
yeah,
listen up really good now.
100%. I mean, and I was a good guy. I mean, I might have been completely batshit crazy, um, and dangerous, but I'm a good guy, and or I wouldn't have been sitting in the seat. Um,
Well, you know,
and
there's that big saying now. It it it's better to be dangerous, better to be a warrior in a garden,
mm,
than a gardener in a war. So it's like
oh,
good to be dangerous, but not exercise it, unless absolutely needed. Sorry to interrupt there.
oh no, 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 and you know exactly how dangerous I probably was in that cohort. In fact, new rules. Hey, Larry came through. You're not doing that anymore. You can't do that. And but yeah, when Adam first he broke down honest, open, and willing because I came in my my normal way of being, my normal way of existing. If you're terrified of me, I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed. I can see, and I'm whether I'm aware of it or not, I'm reading your spirit in your eyes, and I want to see some fear when I walk into the room. I'm always doing that. I'm always trying to be intimidating. I'm always trying to dominate, and uh, I learned that when I was 11 years old to do all that stuff. By the way, but I was doing that when I came in to save a war. Like, as soon as I step into the room, I'm sizing everybody up, and it was a habit of mine. If I step into a room and I'm not comfortable, like, have a mental idea of who I got to kill to get out of here, in what order, and what's the escape route. Um, I'm I'm doing that when I come into the save war. Like, there's a story that I got tricked into being there, and I definitely felt that when I come into the room. It's like dawning on me. Oh, I'm at a place for suicidal PTS veterans and first responders. Are you shitting me? And I step into the room, and I'm really looking at sizing everybody up in here. And Adam Carr caught me doing it, and he said, "Stop right there." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Are you honest, open, and willing?" Because he saw me eye fucking everybody in the room. He goes, "Are you honest, open, and willing?" And I'm like, "Of course I am." He goes, "No, honest. I mean, I'm going to stick to the truth even when I don't like what the truth has to say, or I'm going to stick to the truth anyway because it's the truth. Do you have it like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, that kind of insinuates you're going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to hear, but I reckon I'm going to stick to the truth." He goes, "Good. Are you open to the idea the reason why your life is appearing the way it does to you right now is 100% your responsibility and you're not blaming all your problems on other people?" I'm like, well, there's people that owe me a pound of flesh, um, but I'll own everything that I've done wrong in life." And he goes, "Fair enough. And if you're not enjoying your life, are you coachable? Are you willing to consider a new way of doing things?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of set in my ways, but I'll hear you out. Consider it." He goes, "Fair enough. Have a seat. We're going to start a conversation. You can stop me from talking the moment I say something that you know for certain is a lie." And I was like, "Deal. Yeah, I'll be like right here in your face."
Yeah,
He's
I'll play
like,
that game.
"Yeah." And man, I paid attention to everything that was presented. What shocked me, I don't want to give away any of the game. Like, that first hour shocked me because I thought they must have done some uber secret background security check or something that I was unfamiliar with, because he's like, at this point, this probably happened to you at this age, and you made it. You decided this. So that's exactly what happened. How do you know that? That's a secret I'm taking to the grave with me. How do you know that? Nobody knows that but me. How do you know that? And then he kept doing it. He kept doing it. And I'm like, well, I'm paying it. Then when I found out how much the seat cost, when they said how much the seat cost, I immediately got up to walk out. And Adam goes, where are you going? I said, I don't have that kind of money, and I don't have any health insurance, and I'm not lining up any new bills for my family for when I'm gone. He goes, your seat's already paid for. I'm like, I didn't pay for nothing. I know my wife didn't pay for this. You got the right Larry Turner? He's like, we got the right Larry Turner. And I start looking around the room, and he's like, well, who are you looking for now? And I said, well, I ain't worth $5,000 to anybody. I want to know who paid for my seat. And I'm getting under Jake's skin right there. I mean, I am wrecking the cohort. Whatever attachment he had for a nice, smooth day zero, I have already crashed it. And he's like, just sit down. Your seat's paid for. And I sat down and I thought, holy shit, somebody paid that amount of money for me to sit here to listen to these guys? The least thing I can do if they paid that amount of money for me to sit here is listen to hear what they have to say. And I did. I paid attention to every single word, but I'm not comparing it to my own life experience. I will not do that. And now the ropes course was a couple days later, and I train wrecked that thing. I'm not going to get into the whole war story of it, but there was an incident. And there is an incident, and they've had their fill of old Larry Turner, and they're like, Larry, Jake Clark and Adam want to see you under that tent. And I thought, all right, here it comes. I'm gonna add getting kicked out of a PTS program to my list of credentials.
Can I hit at a high level that incident?
Go ahead.
You had an old injury that you weren't taking into consideration with participating in the activities of the ropes course, and
I took it into
very much so
consideration.
re-injured it, or well, you didn't give a shit of the potential of re-injuring yourself or making it worse. Is that true?
Like all the muscles and everything, I had ripped them off, and they had just reattached the whole thing. And recently, like a year and a half or 2 years before that, and it still wasn't functioning completely. It was weird, and I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But I can't tell you about my injury because that would be expressing weakness, which I cannot do in my warrior state of mind. Number one rule: never express any sort of weakness. So I can't tell anybody. Per me, in my set of rules in the universe I'm living in, I cannot tell you that I'm injured. And so I'm looking at the ropes course. I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But in the first obstacle, there's a thing where you have to go up and kind of hold hands with another guy. And I'm like, who's going up there with me? This guy? Come here, come here, come here. And he comes over and I said, look, don't tell anybody this. I just had this arm put back on. And I don't know, it's held on with dental floss and chewing gum or something. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that thing. He goes, well, we'll just do it all use the left arm. And I'm like, do it with one arm? Yeah, I could probably do that with one arm. Sure. And so it was kind of working for a little bit, about halfway through that thing. And then like there's a big pop. And I was sure I had ripped my own arm off again. And I come down and I'm just immediately ignoring pain because that's what I do. I just ignore it, and I'm trying to climb the ropes course again and my arm won't even move at this point. I'm just trying to climb up, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, my arm quit working, so I want to get back up to the top of this thing because I don't want this guy to miss out on whatever aha moment he's supposed to have because he picked me, the weak link, to go up there with him. So I'm trying to get back up there." And that guy came up to me. His name was Shane and Jeremy Clark, and he comes up and he goes, "Dude, I already got everything. What you don't have to go up there for me. I got everything I was supposed to get up there." I'm like, "Wow, good," because I really have no idea how I'm gonna do it now. And that's when Jeff Rhodes came up to me and he's looking at me. He's like, "Dude, your arm's not even in the socket right now." And I'm like, "Oh shit." And I went over to a tree and I start smashing myself into a tree. And he's like,
Who's seen Lethal Weapon? Anybody
that
listening to this, watching this, have you seen Riggs in Lethal Weapon putting that shoulder back in the socket? That's what was going on here, but it
that
wasn't working.
it was not working." And Jeff goes, what are you doing?" And I said, "Lethal Weapon. I, I don't know how to put my arm back in there." And he's like, "Dude, that's a movie. That's not how you do things. I'm a medic. Can I put your arm back in? Do you mind?" I'm like, "Nah, go ahead." And he pulled it behind my back and like popped it back in or kind of guided it in there. I'm like, it's, it's done for at least a day. And that's when they said, "Jake Clark, Adam Carr want to talk to you over in that tent." I'm like, "Oh, okay, here it comes."
I might cut that part too, just for liability reasons of us putting an arm back in place.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Just the piece of him putting it back in. That's why I clapped.
All right. Um, so I go over to the tent and I'm immediately like, "Look, it was me. I should never have gone up there. I should have told you about the injury. I didn't. It's my fault. I'm not suing you if that's what you're worried about. Uh, it's all on me." And Jake Clark started like jumping my shit a little bit. He goes, "What's the deal with the arm?" And I said, "The deal with the arm is I just had it put back on." He's like, "What? How'd it come off?" And I said, "Well, I was ramming a bunch of doors open," and I started going into the story of the hotel where I was ramming all these doors open. I was the breacher with a heavy ass ram. And as I started explaining that to him, he goes, "That's a story." I'm like, "That's the answer to the question you asked me." He's like, "I asked you what's wrong with your arm." I said, "All right, and I'm telling you, I was the breacher on an entry team. I'm at a hotel. I'm knocking all these doors down." He goes, "Story, story, story." And I'm like, and that's Adam Carr, the two of them, good cop, bad cop. Um, God bless Adam Carr. I'm so thankful for him, his way of doing things, and both of them. I'm not taking anything away from Jake. I needed that. I needed somebody talking to me like that. But it was Adam as Jake's challenging me. Um, and mind you, I'm in severe pain at this moment. So I don't know what sort of "I dominate you" vibes I'm giving off. He says I was terrifying him. He said it was one of the most terrifying things to confront me at this moment. And meanwhile, while I'm dealing with Jake, Adam's over there. "Hey, Larry, come here." He goes, he points at the rest of the cohort and he goes, "What do you think about those guys over there?" Wait, first thing he said was, and this is a magic word, he goes, "Hey, Larry, do you need a new mission?" I'm like, "Mission? How'd you know to use that word?" "Yeah, I need a new mission. I don't have a mission." He goes, "What do you think of those guys in that cohort over there?" And I looked at him. I'm like, "Ugh, yeah, they're suicidal." Yeah. He's like, "Oh yeah, they are, huh? Um, would you have a would you want to help guys like that?" I'm like, what do you want me to do? I don't know how to I don't know how to fix them." He goes, "No, no, no, no." He goes, if you want to help them, All you have to do is fix yourself. You fix yourself, and eventually you come back here, you can help guys like that. And I said, well, I don't know how to fix myself. There's an issue right there. He goes, that's easy. He goes, all you have to do is accept the possibility that what we've been telling you is the truth. And it was the word possibility. Because in my mental chess game, possibility meant I didn't have to completely accept it. I could examine it mentally and then give it back to you if I didn't like it. So I'm just accepting the possibility, which means temporarily I'm going to examine what you have to say against my own life. And I'm like, I accept the possibility. And at that instant, I just kind of glanced inward and compared everything I had heard up to that point and looked inward to like compare it the possibility. And I'm like, oh. And I looked at Jake, and in an instant, I could tell, like where I thought he was challenging me. All of a sudden, it dawned on me, he's trying to save my life from me. That's why he's so. That's not anger. That's passion. He is. Why the fuck is he still standing here yelling at me like that? I should be terrifying him, but he's still standing there taking it. That's because he loves me. Yeah. And I started feeling like I suddenly, those are my emotions. Those are my feelings. And I instantly, I, I looked at Jake and I said, I get it. And he's just like, oh, good. Thank God, player. Gets up to leave. And I looked at Adam and I said, holy shit, I'm Lazarus. He goes, well, what's that mean? I said, I'm alive right now for the first time. I think I'm alive. He's like, well, good. I said, that's what you guys are doing here? Weird, warm feeling. It's like going outward and it's glittery. I remember I said, it's warm, it's radiating outward and it's glittery. What's that? He goes, that's love, Larry. You probably never felt that before. I'm like, nah, I'd remember that. How do I get more of that? And Jake Clark was still standing there. He goes, just start making your bed when you wake up in the morning, player. And I'm like, bad cop, good cop, bad cop. Got it. All right. Yeah. I'll do whatever Saber tells me to do if that's what you guys are doing here. And that was it. I mean, that for me, that was the moment my entire life shifted. And that was like my day one as a human being. I mean, everything up until that point, I was a zombie. I'm not a zombie anymore. I'm here. And I mean, it was a long road to get to where I'm at right here now, where I can talk about it.
Yeah. Dude, one thing that's always amazed me about you, Larry, is the way you go at things in life. And I can hear in what you're sharing about your career with Intac and all the breaches, you're just all in with what you're doing. And when you made that shift, you became so all in with getting well. And just that's one thing I've always admired about you, and like wish that I could like get more of a piece of that in my life, because I'm not the most disciplined person. I try to be, but it's like make your bed every day and like you're like, okay, I'm doing that. And I know like you went hard and ham sauce with your practice of meditation and the 500-day plan and just everything else. It's just everything that's gotten thrown into your path. Like this has the possibility of helping you get well. You're like, okay, I'll take that. I'll dive all in with that. And that's always just fascinated me, the way you go at things. in that way. And anytime something new gets revealed to you, it seems like you just integrate it into the same system of, I go full out with what I'm doing. And that's not just me. I've heard so many alumni that just admire that about you too. And, I'll have to talk them down. They're like, I can't keep up. Like, he's always on this new book and I can't read as fast as him, all this and that. And it's like, well, you don't have to. Like, go at the pace that works for you. But you're definitely just an exemplar for everyone in the community with how you do the work. And it shows even in, the meeting that you built for ACOA. What you started that out of your distillery, right? You're talking to people about offshoots of AA and AA at a distillery. Love it.
The Killbutt Creek Distillery, and I still own it. It's just we're not open to the public. We're not producing anything right this moment. Maybe down the road. But yeah, I'm humbled by your words. Thank you. And what it is, what's driving me is I'm not kidding around. I I had tried suicide once when I was 12 and I chickened out. Now I didn't get any counseling or anything like that. They're just like, here's a cookie, have a nice day. So I've been struggling with this since I was 12, and it's a very real thing. Um, but when I went off into the military, I thought, I played this card right, maybe life will get better. It didn't. Then I get out. Um, I joined the police department. I marry Sue, and I'm thinking, well, I'm going to play this card a little bit better. I'm playing the game of life. And if I play this card right, maybe there'll be some joy, maybe there'll be some happiness. And the idea of suicide never escapes me. Like I'm always thinking about it. It's always right there on an option. Like there's a table of options I can choose from in any given situation. It's like I got to move suicide so I can get to just write a strongly worded email. It's always right there on the option table. It's always permeating all my thoughts. Like if we will go to Vegas or something and I'm looking down off a side of a building, you might just be thinking, oh, that's a pretty high, I'm up here pretty high, but I am thinking, all right, so I got to miss that car and I can hit the concrete right there. It's in all of my thoughts constantly, and I'm just used to it. Like I'm addicted to adrenaline. That's my normal suicidal thoughts throughout my thinking, just normal. I don't think it's abnormal. Nobody's ever, I haven't actually, talked to a psychiatrist or anything about that up to this point, and I'm just thinking that's my normal. And when I crossed paths with Save a Warrior, suicide was the only thing. In fact, I had it that it was the only honorable thing to do, and I'm an honorable man. And if I want to be an honorable husband, an honorable father, an honorable anything, the only thing on the option table is suicide. So I started putting a big plan together, and I'm not going to chicken out this time like I did when I was 12. And I'm going to make a foolproof plan, and I'm putting it all together. And it's just a miracle that I ran into Save a Warrior and all that happened. And so here's the thing though. I'm not terminally unique in anything. When I was at my batshit craziest, I knew a bunch of other people. These are the people I hung out with. Like attracts like. So I'm like hanging out with other people just like me, struggling with the same thing. So when I had that epiphany on the ropes course and I start following the Save a Warrior path, I know I'm not terminally unique. I know dozens and dozens of other people that are struggling the exact same way I am. And if there's any sense of love or anything inside me, it's my duty to recover so that I can help you. I mean, Adam, those words he said were very magical. Do you ever want to help guys like that? Do you want to make that your mission? Fix yourself. Well, I'm an honorable man. And so I fix myself. You say, I fix myself. That can help them. I'm on it. I'm in it with both feet. In fact, I think after that, during our cohort, a lot of times some of the guys, we would sit around the cabin and they'd say, well, what'd you think about today, Larry? And I'd be like, it could be a cult. I don't know. And then after the ropes course, they're like, well, what about today, Larry? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's a cult. But I tell you what, being in a cult can be a lot of fun, I guess. I'm in with both feet. And they're like, yeah, me too. And they all kind of started leaning in a little bit. It's not a cult, but it's just, I want to be clear about that.
We don't collect any dues.
No, and
It was amazing watching you go through that cohort. I don't remember every person because there's just so many, but so many instances just stood out to me. Like, you want a horse to psychoanalyze me?
yeah,
And then, but you said that, but then as soon as you stepped into that round pen, it's like you let that go and you're like, well, I'm going to get what I came here for. And you seem to do that every step of the way. There would be like some resistance, that old way of being showing up, but then you would just let it go and, surrender to the experience you were having at the time. And it was, every step of it was profound just to be able to witness. And I was grateful for that because, being on the other side of it now, I healed, just in watching you go through this and your cohort brothers. But it was powerful seeing somebody who was so opinionated about things also get so much value out of those same things. Because my fixed way of being for a long time in life, the way I would just approach everything is, this isn't it. This isn't it. They got to be full of shit. Like, no matter what it was, even programs I paid for, it was just like, no, I still got to find it somewhere else. And, the greatest trick the universe plays on us is, the thing we're always looking for in life is actually inside, but we're looking everywhere else for it. We put the last place we would look.
100%. And the sketchy Larry, I mean, there's that still comes. I mean, that's all part of me. All of that's part of me. The crack house rating, Larry. That's still part of me. But once I start looking inward, like with the spiritual awakening, like suddenly I'm aware that I've lived my entire life out here in this world, dominating to avoid being dominated and being the survival of the fittest. I'm I was 50 years old and I thought I was pretty smart. I'd done a lot up until that point in life. And but I've lived my entire life out there with the spiritual awakening. Bam. Oh, that's my spirit. That's who I am. That's why I said to Adam, I'm Lazarus. Like, suddenly I'm alive. And now I'm fully aware of the universe on the other side of my eyeballs, which I have not explored. Like, I'm born for the first time and I'm in a totally different world, and I'm already connecting the dots. Like, if I do this in this world, that kind of affects this out here in this world, and if I do that, that kind of affects. And I'm like, when I came home from the cohort, Sue, obviously, she hadn't seen me in a week. I come home and she goes, so what happened? What happened?
You nailed it.
And I told her, I said, it's really hard to explain. All right. So it's like I'm Neo from the Matrix, and they just unplugged me for the first time. Except the world I'm coming from is a world of shit. That ain't what the world is at all. It's I got some work to do. I got a lot of work to do. But that's the best I can do right now, honey. And she's like, okay, so you're Neo in the Matrix. Alrighty then. And so she was kind of put off by it. She's like we'd been married 97 years up to that point. No, how long? We're in our 33rd year, so back then, I don't know. I'm not good at math. I don't math. 28 years. She had been used to batshit crazy, aggressive, don't fuck around with Larry all this time. And now all of a sudden I'm telling her I'm Neo from the Matrix and they just unplugged me. So she's like, well, let's just see what happens here. And I kept meditating. I'm like, I got books to read. Hey, you want to meditate with me? That took a little bit. But she started meditating with me. I told her, I said, I'm going to be doing this every day for the rest of my life. So you might as well learn how to do it if you want to be hanging out with me. It's kind of cool. I'm more peaceful. So she started meditating with me. Eventually, I was assured that she'd be like a value. She ended up putting in an application, and back then she came through as a valued participant, and she got the whole experience. And now she suddenly understands. Oh,
Now she's Neo in the Matrix.
I'm Neo, and they just unplugged me. I get it now. Yeah, I'm awake. I'm present. I just heard earlier today, and I wrote it down. I'm gonna do a whole chapter on it. My life experience that I'm experiencing, that I'm enjoying right now in life, is only to the level of my consciousness. And another way to say my level of my consciousness is my presence right here, right now. My life experience is only going to be rise to the level of my spiritual awareness and my presence in this moment in time. And it takes a bit of work to get here. And
That's putting it lightly. It takes a lot of work and a daily grind. My greatest way of explaining kind of what you're talking about with that, and even what happens at Saul, been through a lot of programs that touch similar technology, and one of them, and I like it just because it's kind of like computer coder language, and the Matrix made me think of it, but it's all that stuff you talked about that happened in childhood that, we built these belief systems out of is just programming that we have, that we decided upon.
Right.
This experience happened. Here's how I'm going to protect myself from it. Here's how I feel about myself now. Here's how I feel about others. And here's my concept of the world at large.
Right.
Like for me, my programming was I'm not enough. And each subsequent experience I went into, I sought to prove that I'm not enough. But I'm not trying to prove that to other people. Just I'm validating that thought and that program that I have coming online and just getting it grooved in. And I can't trust people, was the next one. I just can't trust people, and the world isn't going to be fair to me.
Right.
And it's funny. I'm reading books about kids and stuff now, and I forget what age range it is, but fairness is like the most important thing to kids. I think it's like when they're in that like 5 to 9 range. It's just all about fairness. Their world revolves around that. When I was those ages, I wasn't allowed to say the word fair because I would complain about things not being fair so often. My sister would trick me into saying, what's that place, with the Ferris wheel and stuff that comes to town every now and then? The fair? Oh, he said it. Because I'd get in some trouble for it. But, it's just with that programming online, it became so grooved in that I wasn't even aware that I was looking through that lens in every experience that I had. And it's kind of like they speak to in the Kabbalion. It's Hermetic principles that came from like ancient Egypt, and the Greeks went there and tried to preserve it. Back in the day when, you know, the Egyptian empire was kind of falling, but the Greek one was in full roar. And one of those is as above, so below, as within, so without is what it speaks to. And it, what I look at with that is the more work I do on my interior world, the more transformed the experience in the outer world are, you know,
100%.
because I'm not going into every experience looking for like, who do I need to be on guard against? Who can I not trust right now? How can I protect myself? You know, because it was all just, how can I protect myself? How can I prove to everybody that I'm worthy and enough and that I'm the bee's knees and the baddest mofo alive? Uh, but rather it's, you know, how can I build connection with people? How can I get down to the truth of who they are and understand what matters to them in the world and be of support for that? Because it's not all about me anymore. Which is like a Zig Ziglar saying that I've always loved. You know, anything you want in the world, it's basically anything you want in the world you can have by virtue of helping other people get it first. You know, if you want wealth, help other people build wealth. If you want happiness, connection, love, help other people find that, and you'll have it in excess. You know, it's, you got to give it away to have it. We were talking about the opposite of that principle before we started recording too. You know, with whatever I don't want in my life, I've got to choose.
Right.
You know, if I don't want stress, I've got to choose things that stress me out. Doing an ice bath, meditating. I don't want to meditate. You know, it takes some discipline to sit there quietly and do the part of the meditation I'm supposed to do instead of letting my thinking just run rampant. Like, it's not easy.
It's the
But
difference between a
choosing to
man
do
and a
that,
boy.
yeah, it lets me find peace. So I throw myself into an experience where a lot of times I'm not finding peace during it. You know, I'm finding like, damn it, I lost control of my thinking again. What part was I in? Or just finding discomfort in my back or my shoulders as I'm sitting there and just letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. And in the end, I'm getting the exact thing that I've been getting free of the exact thing that I've been, you know, trying to run away from by leaning into it. And it's fascinating how that works.
I need some sort of struggle in my life where you end up looking like this. Oh. So over your shoulder, there's a book called Behave. Um, uh, yeah, right there. Now I was explaining this. The system of rules that I'm following, the code that I'm following in life. I did not have positive male role models growing up. I had the exact opposite of a positive role model. And there's the abandonment terror that everybody's born with, that all animals, all herd animals, humans are herd animals. We're all born with abandonment terror, like an instinct. Like Jimmy will be walking down the road, and every once in a while he has to find some place. Oh, this is the spot I have to pee on. It's some part of his instinct tells Jimmy he has to pee on this specific spot, or the whole world's going to spin off its axis or something. He has an instinct in him that says, we humans have, in all animals, all herd animals have this abandonment terror. And I don't know that. I don't know that that's driving a lot of things, but I'm being raised in a very chaotic environment. My dad, I'm not going to badmouth my dad. He could have been playing his cards a whole lot better as a father. But I'm creating a system of rules to live by at a very, very young age in a very chaotic environment where the two things I'm trying to avoid are pain and shame. Those are the two things I'm trying to avoid. So I'm creating a system of rules to live by in order to avoid those things. And I keep failing. I keep experiencing more pain, more shame as life goes on. And I start tightening up the rules or changing one or two of them. And I'm starting to create a way of being, a rigid way of being. By the time I come to Save War, I have a very rigid way of being, which is very simple. Dominate to avoid being dominated. And it's, as you said, when I have the spiritual awakening of the educational variety or whatever you want to call it, I'm unplugged, I'm Neo. Now I'm aware of this, my spirit, and how it interacts with this world. And I start, unless I'm aware of that, unless I'm aware of my spiritual identity of who I am inside this meat puppet, that system of rules that I created all my life, I'm just reacting to everything. I'm a zombie. I'm not even alive. I pointed this out to somebody a few days ago. Somebody wanted to talk to me, and as soon as they start talking to me, they cross their arms and they start talking, and I said, you're following a code. There's a code inside of your head of what to do, what not to do, and you're on a protocol, and at some reason somewhere in your code you're just crossing, it's telling you to cross your arms while you talk to me. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to cross my arms when I'm talking to you, Larry. And he put his hand in his pocket, and I said, you're still doing it. There's a code. It's like tying a string around your finger to remind you not to cross your arms per your protocol. If you stick one hand in your pocket, that reminds you not to cross your arms while you're talking to me. He's like, God damn it, Larry. And I'm like, dude, I am not threatened in any way, shape, or form. I'm just pointing out that unless I'm aware, unless I'm present, now I'm just reacting in life. I'm reacting to events. And I'm not even conscious. A lot of things I'm doing, I'm not even conscious that I'm doing it, like driving a car from work to home. I'll get home, not even remember driving home from work. I won't remember the entire trip because I'm just on autopilot. And I'm on autopilot my whole life. When this happens, you say this. When this happens, punch him in the face. When this happens, I don't know, act intimidating. And I'm just blind like a zombie running through life, hoping that something gets better. When I become spiritually aware, oh, now I'm in control of my life. Now I'm an actor. I'm not a reactor, and I'm present. I'm awake. I'm here. That's the big difference. And when I'm awake and I'm here, I want I'm going to start doing things intentionally so that my life improves. And one of the biggest things, and you brought it up, this book, this book. One of the things Save a Warrior,
The laundry list workbook.
couple things the Save a Warrior told me to do when I left my cohort. They told me never stop meditating, do that every day. Like noted. And then I think the first thing Jake Clark asked me to do, make your bed as soon as you wake up in the morning. And that was it. That was the 500-day plan when I came out of Save a Warrior. Make your bed and find two things you don't want to do each day. Do those two things, and that's it. And then pretty soon Jake came back and said, hey, Larry, I need you to go through the AA 12 steps. And I said, well, big problem with that. I'm not an alcoholic. He goes, I don't remember asking you that, Larry. I think I just asked you to go through the 12 steps. And I'm like, all right, I'll do whatever Save a Warrior tells me to do. And I went through the 12 steps. That gave me some epiphanies, epiphany after epiphany, and spiritually stronger. And then it's like, hey, read this book. Hey, read that book. And then he said, start going through the laundry list workbook. And there wasn't an ACOA meeting. I lived way, way, way out in the woods of Coshocton, and there wasn't a ACOA meeting anywhere. So I had the idea that we're going to start one in the distillery. And because I have the key to the front door, I put up a table, we'll have a meeting. And I thought, I'll start the ACA meeting, and eventually somebody from ACOA will stop by and take over and start running the meeting properly. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And so I started hosting the meetings at the distillery. It was a huge blessing. And a lot of those people, a lot of those original gangsters that came to the distillery to go to that meeting, they're still part of the crew. That meeting's still going on. COVID and a bunch of other things shut down the distillery, but the meeting is still alive. And it's on Zoom. We have it every Tuesday night. But it was it's a meeting that was born out of necessity because there wasn't a meeting anywhere around there. And let me tell you, going through this book, this is teaching me all the childhood survival traits, like this idea that I'm going to dominate to avoid being dominated. And I'm kind of lazy, so I'm going to intimidate people. If I can see that you're intimidated in your eyes, then I don't really have to dominate you anymore. I did not learn that raiding crack houses. I did not learn that on the police department or in the military. I learned that when I was 11 years old, when my dad was he was abusing the hell out of me. But I came home one day unexpectedly, and he was beating up my mom, like, horribly, punching her in the face, choking her out, and I just kind of snapped. And well, he turned around and he looked at me and said, "What the hell do you want?" And I kind of snapped, and I beat him down on the ground, and I said, "You ever raise your voice to that woman again, I'm going to kill you." And then I ran into my room. I barricaded the door. I was terrified that he's going to be kicking down the door to kill me, and deeply ashamed that I just beat him up and how easy it was. I was ashamed. I was so ashamed of myself. But never even knocked on the door. I stayed in my room for like 3 days, and when I came out of my room, they're sitting on the couch together, acting like nothing happened. My mom says, "If you're hungry, there's food in the fridge." And I walked past my dad, and I noticed he wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't make eye contact. He wouldn't even note that I was in the room. I walked past him, and I kind of walked. When I was walking past him again, I'm looking, and I'm like, "Oh, you won't even look at me." Yeah, that's fear. Oh, I'm in charge now. Yeah, don't you forget it. And so from that point on, um, like, I'm playing with knives, I'm being completely unruly at home. I had a collection of switchblades and butterfly knives, or I'm smashing things, challenging you to discipline me. Try to discipline me. I'll make good on my word. Try it. And so there was always this awkward tension in the house after that. My dad didn't even really talk to me till I got home from boot camp after that, but there's this awkward tension, and that's where I learned to dominate, to avoid being dominated, and to intimidate people. If I intimidate my dad, then I don't have to. We're never going to have another fight again like that. And so it's almost like I'm intimidating him to protect him. So I or me, so we don't have another conflict. And but that's where it's amazing, this book, because that's just one thing. That there's incredibly low self-esteem. That's another trait. We confuse love and pity. Tend to love people we can pity and rescue. There's like 14 of them in here, and as I go through this book over and over and over and over, and listen to other people in these rooms, because I might not identify at first with a couple of these items, like we're either alcoholics or marry them or both. I might not identify that with that until I hear somebody else talking about it, and they might say something, and I'll be like, "Oh shoot, I do that too. I guess I do have this trait." And it's slowly brought me more present. I can understand why I'm doing some of why I have certain reactions when you do something, and it's causing me to have some sort of reaction by going through this book. Now, okay, that's just The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, one of the most powerful books on the reading list. It talks about it in there that I have a roadmap. That code that I'm following throughout life is like a roadmap of how to do things. And I drew mine out when I was 5 and 6 years old. And a lot of those things, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. And The Road Less Traveled, it's like you need a new roadmap. And so when I go through Save a Warrior, and they put me on like the 500-day plan, it's like I get this new roadmap to put over top of my old one. Suddenly my old one makes sense now. Oh, that's what. Okay, and so instead of doing that, I can do this, and oh, my life improves. My life improves, and I keep doing that, and I keep doing that, and that's brought me all the way to right here, right now. I'm not and I've been running off at the mouth for a long time. I apologize. I love you.
You're good. We do need to wrap this
Yeah,
soon,
sorry.
but I love that with the roadmap, because having the one map overlaying the other is, it's this road versus that one with the new map. And what a lot of personal development programs really get at, and the real power that we have as human beings, regardless of religious beliefs, all that is, we're created in God's image. Like God is a part of us, a part of everything. And, even you look to like ancient Indian religions and stuff like that, they didn't have a separate word for God. It was just self and highest self. You know, it was just more syllables on the word for self. And that's where it's within, and everything we need is within. But what we have when we get that new roadmap is the ability to choose,
Mm-hmm.
where before we didn't.
Right.
It was just autopilot, like you were saying. It's just pre-programmed in there. It's grooved into the patterns of the brain on how I react to these different situations and these different stimulus, so that I can stay safe and get what I want, protect myself, protect others, whatever it is, whatever that goal is we had with it. We just get really good at those programs. But when we start to have choice, that's where we can let go of all of that and look to the future, not through those lenses of the past, and choose what route we want. That's where we can start to create the life that we want. And it's the most powerful thing that we have access to. That is our power. And that's where we're able to do unbelievable things, really, And that's one thing that I just appreciate so much, that I've seen in every book I've read, every religious studies class I've taken, every personal development program I've gone to. It really usually always comes down to choice, having the ability to choose. And it's so powerful. What are
Choose
in
life.
that what are some of the things that help you to be able to have that level of awareness? What are some practices and principles you have, just real quick, rapid fire, that give you that ability to have choice, give you that ability to step back and have a different perspective and do things in a way you wouldn't typically do them?
Most importantly is warrior meditation. Some other people follow other meditation techniques. I was taught warrior meditation. It's the one that I'm familiar with, and I've been doing it every day, multiple times a day, since my cohort. There's that. It's the people that I'm surrounding myself with. Um, I want to surround myself with people that are enjoying their lives. I mean, honestly, spiritually, I can feel your energy. You are genuinely enjoying life. I want to be more like you. Uh, Sometimes I tell people we follow the other warriors on this path before me as long as you have something that I want. And when I say you have something that I want, I mean I'm looking at you. It's radiating out of you. You have sanity, sobriety, confidence, peace, joy. Joy. I don't even remember joy. You have it. I want it. If I want what you have, I got to start doing what you do. So I start hanging out with spiritually alive people. And in my free time, when I'm walking or in the shower or whatever, I listen to spiritual type books, spiritual awareness, recovery books, and because what they're doing is and this like you're gonna ask me a question out here on the front side of my eyeballs. I gotta go looking for the answer on the other side of my eyeballs in here. And what I'm doing, like this book, for instance, and this is just one. I don't mean to beat this one to death. This is just one of many workbooks that I go through. It's filled with questions, and to go through there. When you were a child, did you observe people reacting off each other? I gotta look inward for that answer. Yeah, there was that. And what I'm doing, I'm pinging like I'm looking for a submarine. They use sonar and they ping. Oh, okay, there's the submarine. I'm pinging my own spirit by doing books like this, work like this. You ask me a question out here, I gotta look for the answer in here, and I'm pinging my own spirit to get the answer. And it's raising my awareness of myself, constantly meditating, service to others, surrounding myself with like-minded people. Um, yeah, to me, all of that keeps me present. I start following good spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle, Anthony DeMello's one of my favorite. New one, David Hawkins. I just discovered that guy. I'm reading spiritual, Becoming Supernatural by Joe. What's his last name? Dispenza. Powerfully weird spiritual books. Um, and really, I consider it. I'm constantly A Course in Miracles. That's a big one. Um, but I'm fully aware of the universe, and here the spiritual one and the one out here and how they're interacting with each other. And good thing I used the analogy of Neo in the Matrix, because I didn't have language for it in the beginning. Like I I have a problem out here in my life, right about there, and what I do spiritually is adjust my perspective. Oh, that problem's no longer in my way. And I'm learning how to do all that stuff spiritually. All of my problems I'm facing in life they're in my language, they're in my thinking. The problems and the solutions to those problems are all in my thinking. So I study constantly. I'm constantly studying. Meditation is a big one. You asked for a quick answer, and I'm still prattling on, so I apologize for that. I love you, man. Uh,
I love you too.
I'm,
Thank you so much for doing this with me,
you're welcome.
Larry. And Larry mentioned warrior meditation. That's one amazing thing that I'll be building out for people, where you know how we did all those guided meditations on Facebook when COVID shut everything down. So we decided we wanted to still give value. And Adam Carr and Jake Clark went live daily, both of them, separate times, to lead warrior meditation for I forget how many days. But I'm building all that out into a free members area for people, as well as, you know, training on how to set up the free insight timer in the phone. It's my daughter, if you can kind of see it. But how to set up insight timer in the phone and how to do the meditation, you know, trainings on how to do that so that we can have that as a giveaway to people. So there will be links in the bio for a free meditation training so that folks can get access to that too. Because for me as well, like getting disciplined with that practice, as well as just other mindfulness practices like breath work, are the things that have shifted the trajectory of my life in unimaginable ways. So that's something we at Save a Warrior want to share with as many people as possible. And that's the whole reason we have our own patent style meditation, so that, you know, as many people as want to can give it away for free. We want it to be shared broadly and widely for fun and for free. Just because it's such a powerful practice, you know, especially in a world where we always aim for the shortcut, the quick solution. You know, I'll just take the Xanax to take the edge off. Or I could just take 20 minutes twice a day, or even once a day, every day, and it'll calm down all the stuff going on in my interiority and have me show up in a completely different way in all the relationships that matter to me. So I'd highly suggest anybody listening to this, try out that meditation. And don't just try it out once or twice. Commit to doing 3-4 straight weeks with it every single day, and just see how life occurs in a different way. And if it's shit, if it doesn't do anything for you, didn't charge you anything. So just stop doing it. But I guarantee if you actually commit to that practice and you lean into it, it'll make a difference. It'll make a huge impact, especially if you struggle with anxiety, depression, PTS, just stress, moodiness, all that. You have anything else you'd like to share with people before we bounce out of here, Larry?
One thing, one thing that so in this meeting that we host, there's I call it the blah blah blah. That to open up the meeting, you got to recite, you got to read some crap. And one thing, the last sentence of one of the segments says, "As you continue to do the work, as the love grows inside you, you will see beautiful changes in all of your relationships, especially with God, yourself, and your parents." Now, my parents have died a while back, so that left God and myself. In doing this work and staying with it and sticking with the plan, one thing that prevented me from committing suicide back in the day was I knew I was going to hell. I'm sure God hates me. He's disgusted with me, and I'm gonna go to hell. And that's what I continue to do this work. The one thing that has changed for me is my relationship with God. God is love. And I could feel when I became aware of my own spirit, not only that, I became aware of, oh, God, and God loves me. And I continue to do this work. Dude, I am not going to go to hell. I am not. And so my relationship and my God stays the same, but my relationship, true to the word, my relationship with God and myself, I like being Larry Turner. I never said that before in my entire life. I hated being me all my life up until Save a War. If there's one person I didn't want to be was old Larry Turner in my day, but pain, misery, and suck. And I hated being me. Well, the two things, my parents had died, so the things that are going to change is my relationship with God and myself. As I discover love inside myself, in order to love other people, I have to love myself first. In order to forgive other people, I have to forgive myself first. I learned how to do all that, and I sleep well at night now. I mean, I make the most of my day, out of the most of my time. I want to be productive. I want to serve other people. And man, I I don't know. Tube. I'm done talking. I can tell.
I would assert a couple things with what you said.
Yeah.
Your relationship with your parents did change. You know,
Yeah.
when writing a book, you didn't want to, throw any shade at your dad in it. And you were able to evolve that relationship in such a way that you are thankful for everything that you learned from everything your dad did and didn't do. It sets you up for the career path that you had that ultimately led you to Save a Warrior and having a life that you love.
Yeah.
And you've shared that with me before. So I know your relationship with your parents did change to where you could still, even with all the limitations they have, and me too, still admire the shit out of them and find those things that we admire about them and the silver lining, the gift that we got from how they were in the world and everything we learned from them. And I forget the other thing I was gonna say there.
You
But
you find gratitude in this present moment. You find gratitude right here, right now. Makes everything in my past that I had to go through to get here worth it. And now I see my dad in a different light. I resented the abuse. I resented the stuff that he had done to me all the way up to Save a War. Now I look back with gratitude because of that upbringing. Boot camp was easy. Police academy, freaking easy. All you're going to do is yell at me. Shoot. You're not even going to call me the things my dad called me. You're not going to beat me the way my dad beat me. You ain't got nothing. And he kind of set me up with a very tough mentality that I kind of thrived as a undercover whatever operative out there on the streets. He prepared me for conflict. And my dad taught me how to. My mom loved me. My dad taught me how to be tough, and that's how I'm thankful for him. So my relationship with him, the way I'm holding him in my mind, has definitely changed, and I don't want to slander the guy. I I forgive him. I you know he told me I love you right before he died, and I was like, asshole, you wait to the last minute, last minute. Well, I love you too. And my relationship with him, even though he's passed, I miss him, and he was only what I look at as he was only working with me when he was raising me with his level of wisdom that he had access to at the time. And I even remember as I was growing up looking at him like, wow, if if he thinks what he's doing to me is any acceptable way to treat a child, what must he have gone through? It's probably worse. So I was able to forgive him a long time ago, but I know you want to get off here. We'll talk again.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. All right, I'm Jake and he's Larry. Thank you for listening to us. We love you all. I love you all. I can't speak for Larry. I'm sure he does
Oh,
too.
I do.
Uh, and I'm ending the recording.
Cool.